Years ago, I created a retirement planning concept called securement, which is short for secure retirement. The securement process is meant to simplify retirement planning. There are 3 intuitive steps. Number 1, create income. Number 2, protect your nest egg. Number 3, reduce your taxes. One of the central tenets of this philosophy is that there is a role for both professional asset management and an insurance company in your future. Why an insurance company? Because insurance companies are better at mitigating risk than we are, plain and simple. Insurance companies offer annuities, life insurance, and long-term care insurance. This video will introduce you to the Allianz 222, a popular annuity from one of the world's largest and most reputable insurers. Here's our agenda for today. First, I'll go to the whiteboard to outline some of the terms of the 222. Then I'll do a screen share to share how the returns play out using some historical information. Afterwards, you'll be in a better place because education is a good thing. It may not be the right option for you now, but at least you'll be in the know. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of the 222 after I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Daryl Rosen, your financial strength coach. The purpose of this channel is to help you create safety, simplicity, and most of all, financial strength at any age or stage of your journey through life. If you like what I'm doing, consider subscribing or commenting or giving me the thumbs up. It's super easy. I'll wait here patiently. I'm kidding. Let's get back to your video.
Let's examine some of the particulars of the 222. These are the key points. And this is the biggest point is right up top here. This is a pension substitute. For people who have big pensions, this is probably not the right thing. For people like yours truly who don't have a pension, then we have to find a way to replicate one. You may know that it used to be that 70 or 80% of people had pensions. Now it's like 11%. So if you don't have a pension, setting up some income over time, lifetime income, is a good idea. Part of the reason why we consider this a life obligation is because there are 2 values in a contract like this: accumulated value and the protected income value. We only care about the protected income value. If we're doing this for the accumulated value, and I'm going to show you when I do the screen share, the accumulated value of this, it doesn't grow that much. It's not designed that way. If we want to maximize the benefit, then we only care about this protected income value. That's where we get the bonus and some of the other crediting methods, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So, pension substitute, long-term. This is not a short-term thing. Right now, there's a 35% deposit bonus. Now, you may watch this and there's no longer going to be a deposit bonus of 35%, maybe it's 20. It happens to be the highest it's ever been right now. And I will show you on the screen share exactly how that affects your values. This is a 10-year lockup, the 222. So what happens is the money sits for 10 years and then you begin to collect income on it. And that's how it's designed. Again, if we're not doing it to hold it, then this is the wrong thing. Plain and simple, this is the wrong thing. Also, this cannot lose value. So I want to sort of show you what I mean by that. So much like investments can go up and down, if you own 100 shares of stock at $100 and then all of a sudden the stock is $50, that value has gone down. That can happen with this. So what happens is if we go up a little bit in year 1, there's a new floor. We have set a new floor on this. If we go up a little bit in year 2, there's now a new floor, and we never go back. So the reason that's so important is that if you look at the way money grows when we take out the variations, when we take out the up and down, because you can have 10% year, 10% year, but then you negative 10% in that third year, and you're back to 10%. So what we want to do is we want to reduce the volatility of our assets. Certainly as we grow a little bit older, when we're thinking about retired income, we want to reduce the volatility of our assets so that they grow a little more responsibly. So in review, pension substitute. Pension substitute. Have I said that yet? There are different values, which I'll show you when we do the screen share. Right now there's a 35% deposit bonus, but that could change. This is a 10-year commitment. You know, when we talk about commitments like this, I always list it as a pro and a con. The con is that basically, if you buy this contract for $200,000, you're losing control of that $200,000. That's a con. It's also a pro because insurance companies do a much better job at mitigating risk than we do. It's a 10-year lockup and it can't lose value. One key point here, it's got to be a reputable insurer, right? You got to know the insurer, right? It's not some Tom, Dick, and Harry insurance company. It's got to be Allianz, Prudential, Nationwide, like companies that have been around for hundreds of years, or at least 100 years, and have never had any problems.
Okay, so let's begin our discussion with a conversation about crediting methods. Then we're going to go to the numbers, and I have a spreadsheet prepared for you and an illustration. And then we'll talk about the income, how the income works. Because remember, as I said in front of the whiteboard, this is a pension plan. That's why we're doing this. And then I'll give you some pros and cons, and then we will be done. So all these solutions have crediting methods inside. They can be related to the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, and then there's a whole slew of sort of managed methods. Now, I want to point one thing out. When it says S&P here, but you're not buying the S&P. And that's part of the reason why it can't go down, because you're not buying the S&P, but you're also not getting the dividends and what have you. So I'm going to go through all the numbers with you. And this sort of works like regular investing, except that you can't lose money. So there are more risky methods with greater potential for increases. And then there are less volatile methods with more consistency, but lower returns. I'm going to illustrate for you the worst case scenario. So that's sort of how I come at this more conservatively. But there are crediting methods that will yield more fruit, if you will. These 2-year methods are actually pretty good, except that you would have to understand that for a portion of your money that you wouldn't see an increase after 1 year. Now, I'm gonna go through all this with you, but I want to highlight this in this fashion. Like anything else, we always allocate to a few different indices here. I usually do 25% in 4 of these investment choices. So these are the investment choices, and now I'll show you what the returns look like. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit here. I want to show you this spreadsheet that I put together. I always look at things very conservatively. Right off the bat, the insurance companies have to report this information on the crediting methods, and they can't make stuff up. I mean, they really have to be very diligent in what they do. I take it even a step further. I sort of want to know what's a bad case scenario, and what I'm trying to figure out is, after 10 years, what's our compound annual rate of return going to be for this deferral period? And so what I did here was there's all these different crediting methods, and I showed you a little bit earlier. Some are more aggressive than others. We cannot lose money, but we just want an increase as many years as possible. Some people would rather take the chance of bigger increases where they wouldn't have as many of them. So that's a different story. Now, what I did was I took one of the indexes and I did like a really bad scenario. I did not include the 3 best years of the last 17 years, and I put all these zeros in the beginning. So you can see there the 400,000 plus that 35% bonus. And then I think keep in mind is that there's a bonus now there that it probably won't be 35% when you watch this video, but there's usually a bonus on this. So I put these zeros in here so that there'd be no growth for 3 years. And then I put some sort of pedestrian returns based upon actual data. Now, the protected income value, which is that higher value, remember what I said in front of the whiteboard. We're only doing this for the protected income value to create a pension plan. We're not doing this as an investment. It just doesn't pay enough. These are not enough. So it is 1.5 times whatever that accumulated value increase is. So that's 8.61. So you can see the returns, and I brought it right down here to a compound annual rate of return of 6.5%. Now, to me, that's really good, because if I can take a portion of my portfolio, let's just say I'm going to substitute for bonds, which aren't paying anything, with this, then I know if I know that I'm going to get to 10 years out on that money with an annual compound annual rate of return about 6.5%, and then that's when we start the income. I'm much more likely to hold stocks in my other holdings, because this is very secure to me, and I know we can't lose any value. So if we come down here, I just did something a little bit different. I said, okay, what if it's 3.33%? So this one, it came out to an average of 2.26, but let's just say it's 3.33, so it's a little higher. I mean, it's not like lighting the world on fire, but it's a little bit higher, which times the 1.5 for the protected income value is 5%. So I just threw that in here. And it's not likely going to have the same return every year, but I just threw this in here for illustrative purposes. It's not an outlandish return number. And now we're at 8.20 as we're deferring, getting ready to start income. Past performance is no indication of future performance, as you know, but this is a pretty good look at how returns can be computed. So I feel pretty comfortable saying with the bonus, between 6 and 8% after 10 years. Now I'll show you how the income works. Okay, so now we're in the illustration, and I want to show you how the income works. So this is very similar to a pension in that let's take the firefighter's pension. One firefighter might live till 70, another lives to 95. The one that lives to 70 got the short end of the stick, not only in terms of how long he lived, but also in terms of the pension payments, while the one who lived to 95 collected a lot more money. It's a very similar concept with this. So what happens here is that the income has a potential to increase every year for the rest of your life. But at some point, this line indicates at some point the value in the contract is going to go to zero because we put some money in, it grew, we started taking the money out, and ultimately it's going to get to zero. That's the nature. But the income is going to keep going. That's the key. So when we talk about offloading risk to an insurance company, that's what we mean. We mean exactly this, that the contract will be empty. Now, people who pass away earlier on, they're not as lucky, right? It's a pooling of resources. That's how insurance works. So this is very telling. I just want to take you down here to this page to show you sort of. Now, you'll notice right here, this $918,000 in the illustration, and I illustrated it pretty conservatively. It's still higher than I would tell somebody or even think. It'd be nice if we had that kind of performance. So then what's going to happen, you're going to see here, is we're going to start taking money out. So this illustration shows $36,000 in the first year. And then this number has the potential to increase every year for the rest of your life. You'll see here, 41,577, 41,946, small increase, but still an increase. And then there'd be bigger increases along the line. Here's one where it was a zero. So it stayed the same, but look, it jumped up a lot the prior year. You'll notice here that at some point, there's nothing left in the contract. That's what this column is. But these income payments keep going. So I keep saying this on a broken record, pension, think pension. That's the only reason to do something like this, is so you can have some of that pension-like benefit. So you can see that this number would keep going. This keeps going. And then if you do a joint contract, it would last to the later of you or your spouse passing away, second to die. So that's how the income works on something like this. Pros and cons of the 222. Okay. Here's how I see the pros, the bonuses, at 35%. So, and we realize that it's marketing in a way. A bigger bonus is better than a smaller bonus, as I think Confucius said that. So I like the bonuses, and I like the way that's computed on the 222. I also am a big fan of certainty, right? I began this video talking about the securement method, which is to create income, protect your nest egg, and reduce taxes. For people that don't have a pension, it means that they're going to have retirement funds, but retirement funds do not equal a retirement strategy. This helps you get towards a retirement strategy. I also like that this instrument has increasing income from the minute you start taking your distributions, your withdrawals, that number has a chance to increase every year and never goes backwards. So I like that. Another pro is the pooling of resources, right? So as I showed you on the chart where the value of the bucket that holds this annuity can go to zero, but because of the longevity factor, the increasing income will keep going until the later of you or your spouse passes away, if that's the way you set it up. So that's a pooling of resources. That means that there are some people who will pass away early, and they're in essence subsidizing and helping take longevity risk off the table for those that live a little bit longer. And so that's a good thing. The other thing I like about this is the cost structure. So when I showed you the returns and everything, there's no additional costs that come out of that. Now, I'm not going to tell you the insurance company doesn't make money. Of course they make money, and that's sort of built into their indexing strategies. But it doesn't come below the line, which I think is really important. The other thing is that because of the way the costs are implemented on this policy, it in essence, and with many annuities, the costs draw down the bucket, which is what will be left over for your heirs. But the income keeps growing at a different rate, and that's actually really important, because when I speak to a client, I say you're my client, not your children, right? I want there to be legacy for them, but I also want to make sure your needs are met. A con is liquidity, right? Because you're giving this money up. And it's locked up for 10 years, as I indicated earlier. If you take it out after 10 years, you don't get all the bonuses. It was a complete waste of your time, to earn a low rate of return. That's not the reason why we're doing this. Now, I say liquidity is a con, but I also think it's a pro, because I think it's good as you age to have an insurance company or professionals having a greater role in overseeing your money. Another con is pedestrian returns after the first year. So we know that there's this 35% bonus. So the protected income value after 1 year looks awesome. But then after the second year, it might not look that different from the end of the first year. I indicated that I can reasonably say, though past performance is no indicator of future performance, it's all we have to go on, 6 to 8% of a compound annual rate of return at the end of 10 years is good, right? But you'd have to be accustomed to not seeing those giant increases. So those are the pros and the cons as I see them. I hope that was helpful. Please remember that this video is for informational purposes only. Without knowing the specifics of your financial picture, I can hardly make a recommendation. And if anybody ever suggests an annuity without a thorough review of your situation, run fast. I just want you to know how it works. Please get with a competent financial professional if you think something like this might work for you. If you live in Illinois, I'd be happy to help you. Just email me. My email address is in the description below. Thank you for watching.